At 9:12 on a Monday morning, the city woke up to a version of itself that no longer belonged to it. Police radios crackled with calls that made no sense. Utility companies were shutting off power to buildings that had already paid. Birth certificates were being rejected at hospitals. A school bus driver was told the route he'd driven for 12 years didn't exist. And at City Hall, a clerk stared at her screen as the system locked her out. Her own name suddenly flagged as fraudulent. No alarms went off, no windows were broken, but somewhere, quietly, a man had slipped his hands around the identity of an entire city and started to squeeze. Before that morning, the city had been ordinary, mid-sized, forgettable to outsiders, the kind of place where people complained about parking and the weather, not about existential threats. City workers drank bad coffee and argued over spreadsheets. Records lived in filing cabinets and aging servers, stitched together by routines so familiar no one questioned them. There were small signs in hindsight, a delayed property tax notice here, a utility bill rerouted there, a librarian who couldn't access the municipal archive she'd curated for 20 years. Each problem was handled in isolation, a glitch, a clerical error, someone else's department. The city trusted its systems because it always had. The people trusted the city because it always worked. The first confirmed break came at 7:48 a.m. when a patrol officer tried to run a license plate and the system returned a different vehicle. Same plate, same city registration, different owner. 30 minutes later, a bank froze the city's operating account after detecting duplicate municipal credentials. By 9:12, emergency services lost access to dispatch history. It wasn't chaos yet, it was confusion, the kind that spreads quietly, infecting decisions before anyone realizes what they're dealing with. Investigators would later reconstruct the timeline. The man, because it was a man, didn't start with anything dramatic. He started with a form, a routine request for public records filed under a perfectly normal name. He learned how departments talked to each other. He mapped approvals. He learned who never changed their passwords. Weeks later, he submitted a second request, then a third. He wasn't stealing information so much as studying it, learning its rhythms, its blind spots. He understood something most people don't. Cities aren't protected by walls, they're protected by assumptions. When the crime truly unfolded, it did so methodically. He registered shell entities using variations of official names. He mirrored databases just closely enough to pass automated checks. He rerouted correspondence. He replaced vendor records. One by one, he became the city's shadow. By the time anyone realized what was happening, he wasn't just inside the system, he was the system. The investigation began in fragments. Cybercrime units blamed outdated software. Financial investigators chased paper trails that looped back on themselves. Everyone assumed this was a typical fraud. Big, maybe, but familiar. It wasn't. It wasn't. Every lead ended in the same place, a legitimate-looking document signed by someone that did not exist, approved by a department that technically had approved it. The city's own records testified against it. There were missteps, critical hours lost arguing jurisdiction. A federal agency declined involvement, calling it a municipal issue. A key server was taken offline, erasing volatile data. The man exploited every delay, adjusting in real time, correcting his own mistakes faster than the city could find them. What unnerved investigators most was the restraint. He didn't drain accounts overnight. He didn't announce himself. He tested boundaries, pulled back, advanced again. This wasn't greed, this was control. A criminal psychologist later described it as administrative predation. The satisfaction wasn't in money, but in authorship, rewriting reality and watching people live inside the version he created. The man had studied the city long before he touched it. He attended council meetings, sat in the back, took notes. He learned which voices carried weight and which were ignored. He learned the language of bureaucracy, how confidence could substitute for authority if delivered calmly enough. He wasn't invisible, he was forgettable. That was the point. The turning point came from a mistake so small it almost went unnoticed. A municipal bond document contained a formatting error, one extra space in a header. An analyst newly hired flagged it because it didn't match a template she'd memorized. That space led to a printer ID. The printer led to a shipping record.
The shipping record led to a warehouse 2 states away. Inside, investigators found a workstation running cloned versions of the city's databases updated in near real time. Notes taped to the wall listed departments by personality: fast, slow, never checks. They also found a name, not his real one, but close enough. The arrest didn't come with a chase. It came at a diner, early morning. He was eating alone, reading a newspaper that still listed the city's mayor, who, according to the altered records, no longer held office. During interrogation, he was calm, polite. He corrected detectives when they misspoke about procedures. He didn't deny what he'd done. He explained it, patiently, as if they were interns. He said the city made it easy, that it wanted to be taken, that no one really knew who they were unless someone told them. The truth emerged slowly in court. Months of testimony, dry exhibits. The scope became clear. He hadn't stolen money so much as identity itself, legal authority, institutional memory. For a time, he decided what was real. The sentence was severe. It had to be. But no verdict could restore what was lost. In the aftermath, the city rebuilt its systems, its safeguards, its trust. Families told stories of missed ambulances, denied services, quiet humiliations that never made headlines. Investigators carried the case with them, a reminder that the most dangerous crimes don't always look like crimes at all. And even now, years later, a question lingers. If one man could steal a city's identity without raising his voice, without breaking a lock, without anyone noticing, how many others are waiting, studying quietly, learning who we are, before deciding to become us?